Welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we are so glad to have you here. A significant step forward for New Jersey's veterans as a bill to create a dedicated cabinet-level Department of Veterans Affairs clears the Senate Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. Standing by is State Senator Joe Vitale to explain how this move will help support New Jersey's veterans. First, though, we are talking about the rise of untraceable 3D printed firearms, also known as ghost guns. State Senator Shirley Turner is spearheading a new legislation aimed at closing a loophole by criminalizing the possession of digital blueprints to create these weapons. Senator Turner joins us now. Senator, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Great to see you too, Laura. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, happy to. So let's get right to it. You're working to crack down on these ghost guns, and you have a bill that targets the digital instructions for printing them. I mean, first, this technology sounds honestly very surprising, and especially to those who may not be as tech savvy as the younger generations. But can you talk a little bit about this? That people don't even know about it.
I know we didn't know about it either until what a problem it had created in terms of controlling gun violence until the State Commission of Investigation launched an inquiry on gun violence. And that was when we learned that even though gun violence really spiked during the pandemic, but after the pandemic, there was this huge surge in ghost guns where people at home were building these guns that they could use that were unregistered, and they did not have the serial on them as does those guns that are manufactured legally. And these people who are manufacturing the guns, they were doing it for illegal purposes to perpetrate crime. So that was what we learned, and we wanted to close that loophole as quickly as possible. Because as you know, New Jersey has some of the strongest gun laws in the country, but this is one area that we needed to take some action to close so that we could cut down on illegal gun violence.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers, they really are eye-opening. I mean, just a few years ago, like you said, people didn't know what ghost guns are. So can you just talk, now you have, what, hundreds that are showing up in New Jersey. Can you talk about a little bit about what you've been able to uncover and what this legislation, how it aims to stop it before it gets worse?
Well, protecting our communities means not only just responding to today's threats, but anticipating tomorrow's threats. And this is what we've done by closing this loophole, because we do not want people building their own guns at home where they cannot be traced and they're not registered, and they're going to be using them for illegal purposes, either robbing someone or shooting someone, and they cannot be identified because of these ghost guns. So we need to close that loophole and close it immediately, and by increasing the charges on these people, because now with this crime, it's going to be increased by making it more of a first-degree crime than a second-degree crime. If you are building these guns, making these guns in your home so that you can commit illegal acts and commit gun violence.
So, yeah, so under the bill, just even possessing the digital blueprint, that would be a crime as well. Is that how I understand it?
That is correct. If it is found that you are in possession of a blueprint where you have a plan to build or create a ghost gun, you will be charged with a criminal act.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that seems so scary also is just how accessible do you think this is, especially for younger people who are into technology? You know, the 3D printers, technology being used for so much good. And, you know, you see young students who are able to print out their science fair projects. somebody at the station just sent me, a link to how they are 3D printing houses. So I mean, it's amazing how technology is advancing, but something like this, I mean, a printer around a young person, it just seems like it could be so easily accessible.
Well, it certainly is. We know that technology has done some wonderful things in terms of improving our lives, but this is one of the areas where technology is not improving our lives. It's really destroying a lot of lives instead by giving these people the opportunity and access to create these guns that are called ghost guns, and we know that they're doing it for very criminal reasons, whereby they cannot be traced and they can go undetected. So I'm just concerned that this is a loophole that I know nobody wants to have continue to exist, and I'm just you know delighted that finally we were able to get this bill heard in committee and hopefully onto the past the Assembly and Senate and onto the governor's desk so that he can sign it into law.
How do you strike the balance when it comes to technology and, right, this bill is looking at the digital files. Do you have people who are concerned about if it gets in the way of technology innovation? Like, how do you balance technology innovation with safety and security? Or anybody who might say, oh gosh, this could be overreaching into other areas of 3D printing?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, trying to balance that. We don't want to destroy innovation for good purposes, but at the same time, we have to recognize there are people out there, those bad actors, who are using it for dangerous purposes. We see that, in every walk of life. We know that social media, for instance, that's a great way for people to connect and communicate with each other. But there are too many people who are using it for the wrong reasons, for malicious or criminal kinds of activities. So we really have to strike a balance and find ways to continue the good parts of technology and try to eliminate those areas where it's hurting our society.
So when it comes to ghost guns, is it safe to say it's part of a bigger problem in that other things need to happen, maybe in the legislature or even on the enforcement side, to get ahead of illegal firearms in the state?
Well, see, it's very difficult too, in order to get ahead of the possession of firearms for legal purposes, because so many of these guns are not gotten in the state, but they're brought in from other areas, particularly outside of our area in Pennsylvania and also in Point South, down in the South, where they have looser requirements. And we have gun shows where people can go and buy guns and use them for criminal purposes, and there's no background check and no licensing that's required.
Yeah. Have you heard a lot from law enforcement and what they're actually seeing? Do these 3D guns, what types of challenges are you hearing from your constituents, from those in law enforcement, when it comes to what they're seeing on the streets and what they're having to deal with?
Well, it's hard to prevent these guns from being built in an individual's home, because police in their homes is very difficult. And many times they don't know about these ghost guns until a criminal act has been committed, a shooting, and then they find that there's no way that we can track or trace these guns because they have no serial numbers.
Yeah, it's just again, my mind can't get over that technology that a printer can print a gun that fires, that does the same thing as a regular gun. It's mind-boggling, and all the challenges that it has to face, that it presents to so many different areas, from law enforcement to public safety to trying to deal with it in the legislature.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wrap my mind around it either. I could never figure it out how you could build a gun just by using a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, we know that it's occurring because, as we know, that after the pandemic, and right here in this state, we see the decrease in gun violence, but at the same time, we see a surge in that violence that is occurring. It's occurring with the ghost guns.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very difficult to get your arms around preventing this from happening because they're happening inside of these homes
Yeah.
where police officers can't go in and investigate every household to find out if they're building ghost guns.
Yeah, just final thoughts on what's your message to those watching, your constituents, other people in New Jersey, especially families, about why this bill matters so much and how it really connects to keeping their communities safe.
I think many of the people in New Jersey, they need to know what their young people are doing in their homes and what kinds of um, activities and technology they're using, because so often parents are clueless as to what their child is doing with technology and utilizing this technology for the wrong reasons. So we need to have parents be vigilant.
Yeah.
And one way, of course, to do that is to check out what your child is doing, your teenagers are doing, or your young adults are doing if they're still living at home, if they are participating in some illegal activity.
Yeah, just
Just as we always now we're saying that parents should be more vigilant too as to how and when their child is using social media.
that's it, right? It's hard enough keeping up with their cell phone now. The access to technology and printers, it's mind-boggling. But Senator, we thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
And thank you too. I appreciate your calling me and asking me to participate in this because this is a very important issue to all of us.
Well, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying with New Jersey Politics. I'm Laura Jones. A big development for New Jersey's veterans. A bill to create a cabinet-level Department of Veterans Affairs is now moving through the legislature. One of its lead sponsors is State Senator Joe Vitale. Senator, it's so good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, well, let's go right to the heart of it. Why does New Jersey need a standalone Department of Veterans Affairs? What gap are you trying to close?
Well, we're trying to really not so much close a gap, but to provide all the attention and services that are required of us to provide it to the veterans. So right now we have DMAVA, which is an acronym for the Department of Veterans and Military and Veterans Affairs. And so the leaders of the department, spend their time working on issues for the National Guard, the Air National Guard, and things all military. And then the other part of what they provide are the service to all veterans, whether it's the 3 memorial homes in Menlo Park, or Paramus, or Vineland, but all the array of veteran service that are available to them literally every day. But what we found and what really helped reveal all of this was COVID. And so when COVID hit, all of those unintended consequences and consequences that happened to our veterans otherwise were, whether they weren't intentional, all the losses that we had in our veterans' homes, the deaths of men and women who served our country who passed from COVID, particularly in Menlo Park and in Paramus, where we saw literally a third of the veterans who lived in Menlo Park veteran home to pass away. And what it revealed was the issues with in terms of leadership, understanding how to care for veterans, not just through COVID, but through any other medical conditions that they had. And so we decided a couple of years ago, Senator Crine and I, take a real long look at how it is that we can improve the process. And what we really thought of initially was to create a brand new department just for veterans and their services. So essentially taking DMAVA and bifurcating it, allowing it to stand alone for the veteran services on one side and the military and National Guard on the other. And so to elevate all the veteran services that are outside of the military, to give it a cabinet level position, give it the attention that it deserves, and the resources and leadership that are necessary. And so the bill just takes what exists now for all veteran services, moves it to a new department with its own elevated leadership and focusing squarely on the needs of veterans, whether it's their healthcare services, mental health, homelessness, the veterans homes that I described earlier, those 3 veterans homes, and provide the kind of service that are required, and making sure the leadership in those facilities and elsewhere have the kind of background and resume required to provide it, particularly on the medical side.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, so everything is under one department. It's that Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. So this goes into 2. Realistically, what does it mean for the veterans using the services? Are they going to see some real changes when it comes to housing, healthcare, mental support? Can you give us a little bit more detailed description there?
So that's the mission, right? The mission is to be able to focus squarely on those issues, because now you have leadership, and they do a good job at DMAVA. I mean, they're terrific people with great experience, and they have all the respect and love in the world for our veterans. But when you're serving 2 distinct different types of missions, it's difficult to focus squarely on one. And so when COVID hit, and we saw the lack of experience necessary to care for our veterans in a medical setting, whether it's in those veterans homes, whether it's the mental health services, whether it's suicide, homelessness, it really runs the gamut. We wanted to make sure that we had the right people in the right place, but elevated to a position where there's real true accountability and singularly focused on veterans' needs. And so it means that we're going to enhance what we already, or maintain what we already have, but then enhance it. What happened a couple of years ago, it sort of was important to note, is that the Department of Justice and CMS, which is Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services in Washington, came into New Jersey and said, this is a disaster. You need to fix this pretty much or else. And so they gave us a federal monitor to make sure that New Jersey was moving in the right direction. So at the same time, we decided to introduce this legislation, create the new department, funnel all the services to them under one roof, under one person to provide that leadership, and to satisfy the requirements of the Department of Justice. All the right thing to do. They were right in terms of their assessment. And we're hopeful that what we're doing here will begin to satisfy what it is that they want us to accomplish here for our veterans.
Yeah, so you've talked about how this gives veterans a dedicated seat at the table. Practically, what does this look like? How does creating a department actually help in the day-to-day, on the grounds, bedside, or clinically speaking, where people are providing services, taking care of these veterans?
Well, one of the requirements is that the new commissioner of this department would have the resume and the background necessary to care for veterans. So it's either they have to be a veteran themselves, so they understand what it means to be a veteran, but also they can have a medical background in addition to this other piece of their resume. So they come in, hit the ground, understanding the needs of a veteran, both medically, in terms of mental health and the physical health. And so that makes a big difference, particularly when we have now accountability. It's one department. No excuse to say, well, our attention was taken away over here and we need to provide something else over there, that we're just focused squarely on veterans. And so I see this as an opportunity for New Jersey to really embrace the needs of our veteran community. Just changing a name and moving things over to a new department doesn't do much unless you're really dedicated to making sure that it makes a difference. I'll give DMAVA credit now, since the Department of Justice came in and really lowered the boom on the department and on the state. They've made some great strides. We want to make sure that continues. And I'm not saying that I don't trust that will continue, but when you have a new department with new leadership, squarely focused on veterans, and not where their loyalties, maybe royalties is the wrong word to use, but their attention is someplace else. It's now squarely focused on them with the kind of leadership that's now required in the legislation. The federal dollars that come in, nothing is at risk. We should make sure that the funding streams were still going to be there for us. But having someone on the ground, squarely focused on veterans, with sort of the knowledge of what it means to be a veteran and the services that are needed, I think it makes a big difference.
Are there other states that are really getting this right that you look to when you had this report looking to how can we actually make a difference, affect change, that had their own departments, and what things were you learning looking at their models, and how are you actually implementing that or looking to implement it in New Jersey?
Perfect question. And so the answer is yes. So the administration, Murphy administration, hired the McKinsey group to do a real analysis of what it means to move this over, what it would take. But we also learned that 37 other states in this country have separate departments. Wow. And it's the same kind of model in Washington, where you have Veterans Affairs, we have the VA, we have separate departments in Washington where it takes care of the veterans in terms of their military use and then their healthcare use. And so the majority of states in this country have a bifurcated system where there's a National Guard is one department and Veteran Services are another. And so we looked at them, as you say, and it's perfect, as a model to how it is that we should make this change here in this state. They're all a little bit different, Arizona versus, Mississippi versus Ohio, but essentially they're all sort of the same kind of theme and the same process in terms of dedicating those services just for veterans on one side.
When you look at what's happening on the global stage right now, and you have young people, men and women, looking to enlist, serve in the military, and the sacrifices, literally willing to put your life on the line to serve in the military for this country, and then you look at the other end of the spectrum when people are out and they become veterans and they need the services. Are you concerned? Are you, and also in what you were trying to do, are you trying to let this next generation know, hey, listen, we will have your backs if you are going to go out there and sacrifice everything for the country? We're going to make sure we have your backs. Like, to me, it's unfathomable that veterans don't have every service at the snap of a finger, at their fingertips.
Right. It seems cliche to say that the veterans, sacrifice for us so that we don't have to.
Yeah.
They died for us so that we don't have to. And, sometimes they get tired of hearing that because words are one thing and action is another. And so I think we do a pretty good job here in New Jersey already in terms of providing services for veterans, but we can do a better job and make it really consistent. On my office, I'm sure other legislators get calls all the time to learn from veterans or their family members, how do we access services, what services are available to us, and how do we cut through the red tape to get them? Right now, for example, there isn't a waiting list at Menlo Park Veterans Home for a former service person. They can get in, but at one time there was a waiting list.
Yeah.
And so how do you navigate all of that? It's a pretty simple question to ask, but there are so many other services that are available that people just don't know that they're entitled to. And so I'm hopeful that this new department will do the kind of outreach with the American Legion, with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, with the Disabled Veterans, the Vietnam Vets, all those organizations that are always clamoring for either resources or the attention that their members need.
Well, you bring up a great point, because as veterans age, they need somebody to be their voice, and people may not know what services, what things are available. And if you look to this new department, are there any people saying, well, that's just actually another layer of red tape that you're making people jump through? Or do you see this department as actually being something that is realistic, able to cut through the red tape?
Well, that's why we want them to have the singular focus. And, those who are creating this new law, Senator Crine and some others, Senator Johnson, Senator Gopal, who are been dedicating all this time to make sure we get this right. We've worked with the veterans organizations all along the way. We've had sensing meetings. We've listened to them meeting after meeting after meeting to show them exactly what the legislation looks like, what we hope to accomplish for them. And they're really excited about this. We have great support from the veteran community. And so the frustrating part, I think, for them is the timeliness of the services that are available, or when they're available, how can they get them? And having a department, and not just for namesake, or we're going to have a new commissioner. Well, what does that mean? Are they actually going to do the work? Do they actually know what to do? Can they operationalize all the new changes that we want to make, or a new service that we could provide? The sister bill that's going along with this new law creates the Office of Veteran Advocate. So many years ago, I had sponsored the legislation that created the Department of Children and Families. That was at a time when New Jersey was sued by the federal government and other organizations because of the way that we were handling the issues of child welfare and abuse and neglect in New Jersey. So we created a new Department of Children and Families and a Department of Child Advocate. That advocate, just like this new bill for a veteran advocate, will have independent authority to critique, to criticize, to sue the state if they don't meet their obligations, and also offer ideas in terms of reform and how it is that veterans are receiving the services, and report back to the legislature and the governor, whomever he or she is, the progress of the new department. And so we'll have the new department, and we're going to have a watchdog that'll be riding herd over this new department to make sure that they're doing the right thing.
Senator, final thoughts. Where does the bill stand? How realistic is your timeline in getting this passed?
We are right at the end of the budget season. We have to strike a budget by June 30th. And so the bills will be up for a vote in both the Assembly and the Senate within the next 6 to 7 days. Goes to the governor for his signature. He's been supportive of the effort all along. And then there's a 3 or 4 month implementation period to make sure that we can move this forward in a proper manner. But I'm thinking that by the end of this month, both bills will be passed by both houses, signed by the governor, and we'll be on our way.
Senator Joe Vitale, thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for making time to talk to us today. We appreciate it.
It was a pleasure, Laura. It's great work. Thank you for helping us and getting this word out.
Absolutely. And that'll do it for today. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.